Hi there, it's David John, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk a little bit about today, more about my data and how that's going to help you to really get your sort of level of expectation in the right place. And what I found is now sort of doing a good year, 14 months now of my videos, is the biggest thing I'm finding is these lessons which talk about the data, getting that expectation level in the right place, is making the biggest difference to my golfers. Anybody watching my YouTube and taking these ideas on board have seen a massive improvement. And players that we're going to talk about today is that single figure golfer shooting from about 150 yards to 50 yards and understand what you need to achieve. And why I'm sort of carrying on this idea is that I've had a nice message from a golfer who's been watching my channel now for about 9 months, and he's improved his game. He never believed he could get to single figures, and he's improved his game. He's dropped from 15 handicap to 9. And it's all down to what he's done is he's learned what he can achieve, stick to that, get his expectations in the right place, and it seems to have taken the pressure off his game. And he's seeing much, much better results. So what we're going to talk about today is these sort of 3 shots. We're going to look at 150 yards, 100 yards, and 50 yards, but we're also going to look from 3 different positions in those lies. So the one we want, middle of the fairway, maybe if we're in the rough, and what we call a recovery position, which means you might be in the trees or in a position where really quite hard to move the ball forward. And it's important, again, all of my ideas is around this data. And it's understanding, even when you watch the top players on TV, from say 150 yards, which is the first shot we're going to look at, they're not sticking this ball within 5 feet every time. The TV coverage doesn't really help you. I'm going to do a video on that in the next couple of weeks, how TV coverage doesn't help you because you only see the winners, the guys who are playing the best shots of that week. That's not what we want to be looking at. What we want to be looking at is what's the average? What are we on average doing? And what do you need to do on average to get the results here? So let's start with that 150-yard shot. What would be an average result? Well, amazingly, if you want to shoot 80, this is the number we're looking at, that's single figure golfer. If you get this ball within 60 feet of the hole, you're doing what you're meant to do. Yep, 60 feet. This is not a shot you should be sticking 10 foot from the hole. If you are, I'll be caddying for you on tour. So this is what I call a 3.3 shot. What we mean by that, on average, 70% of the time, you're going to take 3 shots to get this down from here into the hole, but 30% of the time, you're going to take 4. And that's what you would do if you're going to shoot around that 80 number. Now, we'll play a shot from here in a second, but let's just give you an idea. If we look at another lie, and you can see on the screen now what we put on there, if we were in the rough, how much that's going to affect your shot. And that's going to take your data, in a sense, up to 3.7. So it sort of reverses. Now you've gone from 70% chance of getting down in 3, it's now a 70% chance because you're in the rough, you're going to get down in 4, and only 30% chance you're going to get down in 3. And then our third shot is when we look at that, is if we're in a recovery position, i.e. we're in trees or our swing is sort of stopped when we're making a swing to be able to advance the ball forward as we would like, we're probably going to nearly add a shot to this shot. We're getting up to about a 0.8 to 1 shot extra, so 4.1 to 4.3 shot. And what I would say to my golfers, if you get into that position, and you can see from the picture we're showing you, sort of tucked up right by a tree, just get the ball back where you would have expected to be after your tee shot, or gain 20 yards or 40 yards. Don't try and knock that on the green, because they're the ones you end up duffing 10 feet in front of you. So sometimes you just have to take your medicine, realize, yeah, that's not a good place. The tee shot caused that. Let's not make the problem any worse. So let's look at a 150-yard shot. What we're going to do today, we're going to play some shots from 150 yards, show you the result, what would the average be, okay? And what you've got to realize, as a scratch golfer, as a professional golfer, on average, I should be about 30 foot away from the hole. This is a shot I should be getting down in 3 shots as a scratch golfer. But as a single figure golfer, remember that 60-foot number. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So we get it up there within 60 feet, we're doing what we're doing. Then what we're going to do, we'll go to a 100-yard shot and we'll show you how to play maybe that shot out of the rough and understand what would be a good technique to get it out of the rough to help you to get a better result. But we'll also explain when we get to that shot why that's more important and why you're going to lose around about a third of a shot. But what I've got, 150 yards, and this is always the big thing. When I'm out on the golf course with my golfers, we always want you to play the best possible shot. I'm never saying to you, deliberately put this 60 feet away. If you are that good, Why can't you put it 30 feet away? So you're looking to play your best shot. And you may have hit a 7-iron, as I'm about to hit here, from 150 yards at one point to 5 foot from the hole. Imagine that shot. Look to play it. That's your career shot. That's your perfect shot. But if your average shot ends up 60 feet, you're doing what we need you to do. So let's see what I can do. Just take him a 7-iron. We're just going to put it up near the green or onto the green, always looking to play the best possible shot. Anything inside 60 feet would be good. So anything really on the green's a great shot. Okay, we struck it nicely. It's on line. And I would think I'm probably around about 45, 50 feet from the hole. So if we put that in perspective, that's probably playing, I'd get that down in 3.2. There's still a 20% chance I'm going to take 3 from there to get it down into the hole. So I'm probably played that shot was near about a 7 or an 8 handicap golfer. So perfect, exactly what we want to do. All right, let's go and look at a 100-yard shot. And what we're going to look at with that shot is what would we do if we were in the rough rather from the nice position of being on the fairway. So we've come to our second distance. We're looking at 100 yards now into the green. And let's go through that data. We're going to show you a shot from the rough and show you how and why we're going to lose that sort of control of the ball and why it's going to take us more shots to get the ball in the hole. But we'll just go through the data of those sort of 3 different positions. So if we'd ended up in the middle of the fairway, we're now looking at a 3.2 shot. Now, that's quite interesting. People look at that and go, well, it's 3.3 from 150, 3.2 from 100. So there's not that much bigger difference. And we're going to add about a third of a shot from the rough. So we're now looking at a shot, you're probably 50% of the time going to get down in 3, 50% of the time you're going to get down in 4. It's become a 3.5 shot. And if you are stuck behind that tree or your swing's impeded, you're now getting up to probably averaging nearly 4 to get this down. Again, get it back into play, get it under that 100 yards on the fairway, and then look to get down in 3 from that position. You can get it to around about 50, 60 yards from the green. That's your 3 position that you'll do. You'll always get down in 3 as a single figure golf. Well, not always, but on average you will. Okay, so let's look at this lie. And what we're going to do, rather than look at it from this angle, I'm just showing you this angle to show you the 100 yards that we've got. Let's look at it more from a face-on angle and understand why we're going to lose control on this ball and why it's going to add a third of a shot to your score rather than being in the middle of the fairway. So when we look at it from this angle, you can see now, I mean, we've taken a picture there and we've shown you that. You can see there's quite a bit of grass around the ball. And this is the biggest reason you're going to lose control of the golf ball. You may lose the strike of the shot, but we're going to show you a very simple trick when you play this to how you can get the desired result you want. So anytime you get anything between club face and ball, you're going to lose an element of control on the ball. Okay, I think that's really important to understand. And in this situation, the chances is, because of how thick the grass is behind, there's going to be a lot of grass behind the ball. As I come into it, it's going to slow the energy going up into the ball, and the end result is probably going to lose a little bit of distance on that side. So what I want to do when I'm playing this shot, I mean, I'm 100 yards away, day like today, we're on a spring morning, it's not the warmest of mornings, I'd probably just take a nice comfortable wedge to get it into that position. Okay, that would work for me. My standard wedge would probably go around about 115. But in these cold conditions, I would play that club. But I want to change something in the shot. And what people tend to do when they play the shot is they feel they want to still sort of come into the back of the ball. And if I do that, I'm going to catch all of this grass behind the ball. Okay, and you can see that from the picture that I've now taken showing the club head and all that grass between club face and ball. Now, what I want to do is I really want to take as much of that grass out of the equation. Now, I can't obviously get in there and get a strimmer out and get rid of the grass. I've got to change my angle of attack. And what people tend to do is they think to get power, they've got to come into the ball and get into the back of the ball. But actually what we want to do here is we want to come down a little bit steeper into the ball. And the reason doing that, if you come down steeper, you'll miss a lot of that grass. You'll come in a little bit closer to the golf ball. So I can reduce the amount of grass I've got there. Now, when you tend to come down steeper into the ball, what changes in your golf club is the sensation that your shaft of golf club is going to be leaning forwards a little bit more. And you can see as we do that, it's going to slightly de-loft the club. So here's what I can do, what I tend to do. I'll get rid of my wedge. I now change to my gap wedge, okay? Because what it's going to become is more like my pitching wedge if I put the ball back in my stance. And now what I do is I get the handle leaning forwards. And that's going to make the club go up and down, but it's going to as I said, decrease the loft slightly. So I've taken a slightly more lofted club, I've changed the setup to miss the grass, and now what I'm getting is more of a pitching wedge loft, so I should get the distance that I want. Result from here, what would be a good shot? Well, coming out of the rough, we're looking really, we said it's a 50-50 shot. So if I can get this ball anywhere near the fringe of the green, very similar to what I'd say, 70, 80 feet from the hole, so not too dissimilar from where we were from 150 yards, but now I'm going from 100, then I'm doing okay. All right, that's important. If you happen to get this on the green within the distance we'd like from the fairway, would be about 40 feet, then you've had a result. This is a really, really good result. So remember, from the fairway, 40 feet would be the result from 100 yards. From here, we're looking at 3.5. So even if you get this within 20 yards of the green, that's absolutely fine. Anything better than that, you get a result. But hopefully through this little bit of help with technique, we might get it on that green to 40 feet. We might be able to get away with that result. But let's see what happens. So I'm going to play off my back foot, leaning forwards. I want that angle of attack to be steeper. Gets the strike. Even doing that, you can see the divot. I'm going to bring it back. I've got pretty clean contact on the ball. I've probably ended up where I ended up on that shot from 150 yards. So I'm really happy with that because that's slightly ahead of the game. I've probably gained about 0.2 of a shot. But you can see in hitting down, and this is the other thing, let's just bring this back to show you. What I see with better golfers, they're never scared to hit through the shot. They'll keep the momentum going through. And you can see the divot we've taken. Don't be scared of that. I hit the ball first, or as little grass as I physically could. By doing that, all of that divot has come after the golf ball. And that's the important thing to understand. All right, so let's put him back. Even though we're in the rough there, I don't like leaving that as bad as that. And we've now looked at 2 shots. And those 2 shots, we're not expecting you to get down in 3, whether it's from 150 yards, in any position, 100 yards. It's only when we get now within 50 yards, should we start seeing the opportunity that you're going to get down in 3, or maybe even get down a little bit less than that. So here's our final shot of our 150 to 50 yard shots playing to single figure golf. And let's go to that data. That's the important thing for me. Understand what you need to do. I mean, that for me is the number one thing. If we're working on your swing, understand what to do. Today it's about data. So this is a 2.9 shot. It's the first shot on average. You might start to get under 3 shots from here, okay? So it means, what are we looking for as an average shot? If we're coming from the fairway, we're looking to put this about 15 feet from the hole. So just over 2 flagstick lengths. That would be a rough idea what you're looking for. And then as soon as you go into the rough, we're going up to about 3.2, 3.3. So there we are, losing that third of a shot again. And then if we get near a tree or something, we're now pushing near a 4 again. So you can see those 3 different positions. And it's so important to keep that ball in play. If you've got a golf course where the rough isn't too thick, then maybe going in that won't be quite as penal. The results won't be quite as bad. You won't get as many sort of mental penalties on that side. But just think to yourself, from 50 yards, you get it down in 3, you're doing great. There's no issues with that at all. So for me, when you've watched my videos, I like to keep it simple. I'm not a player here who would pull out a lob wedge and think I've got to flip it up in the air. Only time I'll ever do that is if there's a bunker and I've got very little green to work with. But in this situation, flags on the green, I've got plenty of green to the right of the hole as well. Nothing really in my way. This is just for me a gap wedge, a club that I know I can hit 100 yards, but I'm only going to hit it 50. And the reason is I know there's plenty of loft on this club. It will do the work for me. If I hit it correctly, the ball will spin and stop pretty much on the second and third bounces. So it's practicing that shot and getting that feeling. But I would always say to you, why I like the shot and why I work a little bit on rhythm and tempo is that if you get it slightly wrong, and what I mean by that, you get a little bit clean, a little bit thin, because you're not whacking the ball, it doesn't shoot over the other side of the green. So you'll see from my swing here, it's just really just past that waist-high swing. I'm just going to play it. I always play my wedge shots a little bit off my back foot, just to get the feel. I'm always striking down onto the ball, but you'll just see the rhythm. Pop the ball forward. We're nicely up onto the green, and we've probably put it, that number we said. You'll see from the picture, we've ended up around about that 15 feet. So what we can see through these 3 different shots is that importance of the data. If we start with the fairway, 50 yards, 2.9. 3.2 if we're playing from 100, 3.3 from 150. If you go in the rough, you're going to add roughly a third of your shot. And we showed you on that 100-yard shot how to play a technique that would give you a little bit of help to get a better result. And if you end up in the recovery position, into a bad position, in trees, just get it back into play. Don't lose more than a shot, but that's what it will do on average as you're playing. So really important, take this idea, level of expectation to the golf course. If you do, you'll see massive improvements, like we mentioned about that gentleman earlier who never believed he'd get to single figures, but he's done it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you soon.